The stat making its rounds on social media right now is that the Steelers at home on Monday Night Football since 1991 are a perfect 20-0. I would love to see that become 20-1 for a variety of reasons, but maybe the most important one isn't just about the Browns being 2-0, but the devil in me wants to see the Steelers be 0-2 and really knock them out of the AFC North race before the month of September is even halfway done. So if you're in the same camp as me, like today's video. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk trades. We got some injury report to get to at the end of the show regarding Week 2 against Pittsburgh. But really quickly, do we like the new intro? I haven't asked anyone yet on the show. We've been so busy getting ready for this Browns-Steelers epic matchup. Let me know if we like the new intro down below. Graphic burn, stick around to the end of the show. We'll talk more about it, you and me, buddy. But let's talk about trades because Bleacher Report came out with an article that had 10 players on the trade block as we get a little bit closer, but still a good ways away until the NFL trade deadline. And there are a couple players on this list that definitely, caught my eye. Ryan Tannehill for one, right? Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift. The Eagles just traded for DeAndre Swift. Jonathan Taylor is going to get traded, I believe. T. Higgins, I don't think gets moved. Ultimately, I think the Bengals just write out the rest of his contract. There's Mike Evans, there's Marquise Brown, and then there's 3 pass rushers. Danielle Hunter, Derek Barnett, and Chase Young. In fact, the folks over at Bleacher Report linked one of those 3 guys to the Browns specifically, and that was Danielle Hunter. So, along with the Raiders, Bleacher Report identified the Browns as a landing spot for Hunter. Now, if you guys remember over the summer, there were some Danielle Hunter trade rumors because he wanted a new contract. There were some broke boys up in Minneapolis, but ultimately they got it done. They gave him a 1-year, $17 million new contract for 2023. Of course, after all of the contract restructures the Browns have done, they've got over $35 million to spend. So if they really wanted to go get Danielle Hunter, they've got the cap means to do it. Now, we'll talk later about whether or not they have the assets to land a guy like Hunter, but they've got the money for it. They've got the room, so that's not a hurdle they have to cross. But here's what Christopher Knox from Bleacher Report had to say. The Browns would be a logical landing spot for Hunter as they've seemingly been enamored with former Vikings over the past few months. They signed Tomlinson in free agency and traded for Smith following the 2023 draft. Against the Bengals on Sunday, Cleveland's rebuilt front 7 looked terrific. The Browns could further strengthen it by targeting Hunter. It's a little early to start talking about the Browns adding more players to their pass rush, but I could see Andrew Berry, whether it's Danielle Hunter or just another pass rusher in general, kind of following the playbook. That was the Philadelphia Eagles last year, where they had a very good pass rush already. But they said, why not, right? Like that one taco commercial of, do you want soft shell or hard shell? Why not both? Why not go get Danielle Hunter, right? Why not add more horses to this carriage? Because Hunter has been one of the quietly best edge rushers, in my opinion, over the last, 5, 6, 7 years at this point. He's coming off a 10-plus sack season. Now, availability has been a concern for him as of late. He missed all of 2020 with a neck injury. He missed a good chunk of 2021. But you see back in 2019 when he played all 16 games, the guy put up 14.5 sacks. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just 1.5 fewer sacks than Myles Garrett did back-to-back seasons. Now, of course, this Browns front 7, this defensive line is absolutely loaded and stacked. In my opinion, Week 1 confirmed it is a top 5 defensive line in football. Shout out to Andrew Berry for turning this thing around real fast, right? With Myles Garrett, Dalvin Tomlinson, Jordan Elliott, Za'Darius Smith, Okoronkwo, Shelby Harris. No, it's good. Ika, Isaiah McGuire. I mean, if you were to add Danielle Hunter to this list, just look at what these 4 guys did last season, right? Myles Garrett, and first off, it'd be a completely new front 4 for Cleveland. But if you added Za'Darius Smith last year and Danielle Hunter, just talking pass rushers here, we're looking at 16 sacks, 10 sacks, 10.5 sacks. Okoronkwo is the last guy in this relay team, and he put up 5 sacks on an awful Texans team that had no other pass rushers on it. Working opposite of Myles Garrett, we already saw in Week 1 what that can do for Okoronkwo as he got the first sack of the season. Now, I believe that Andrew Berry will be aggressive at the deadline. This is just Andrew Berry's MO. He was close to making a trade last year, And this Browns team didn't look like they were going anywhere last year around the trade deadline, right? We were all kind of hoping they would go somewhere, but the on-the-field product and the actual record did not indicate this team was destined to go to the postseason. It's a different story this year, right? The talent's there. Deshaun Watson's there for the whole season, and I do think this team is going to be pushing for a postseason run. Now, before we wrap up the rest of this trade conversation, I want to tell all of you watching right now about our proud sponsor today, GameTime. Get last-minute tickets with the best price guaranteed thanks to GameTime, because buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. Now, I have personally used GameTime in my last month or so of going to football games when I went to a college football game in Charlotte that I've told a lot of our longtime viewers about. But what I didn't tell you guys was GameTime really hooked it up with us, right? Not just giving us $20 off by downloading the GameTime app and then using promo code BrownsChat, but also by letting us know, hey, if you want to know what your view will look like at your seat with GameTime, you get this awesome bird's eye view. So you don't show up to your section of 500 and, row who knows what, and you're like, oh, they look like ants on the field. I had no idea. No, with GameTime, there are no surprises. You get exactly what you want, and you are getting what you pay for. And thanks to GameTime, they're giving the Dog Pound $20 off when you download the GameTime app and redeem the code BrownsChat. All that information, by the way, is in the comments and the description of today's video. So forget planning months in advance. GameTime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code BrownsChat for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The only downside to trading for Danielle Hunter, in my eyes, is you have to trade for him, right? You have to give up something for Danielle Hunter, and I'm not quite sure what Danielle Hunter's trade value is, but I don't think it's as cheap as Za'Darius Smith was, okay? Za'Darius Smith is a little bit older than Danielle Hunter, actually about the same age, but Danielle Hunter is a much more coveted defensive end in this league, in my opinion, so it's going to cost the Browns some good draft capital, and they're kind of running short of assets to give up here. I'm not in love with moving on from your second or third round pick without a first rounder, because those two become much more valuable. You have 2 fifths. You picked up an extra one after trading Josh Dobbs away. You have a pair of 6. You have a 7th, 7 picks altogether. If it costs a third, and the Browns at this point, let's look at the schedule for a moment, okay? Let's say the Browns knock off the Steelers. They're 2-0. Titans did not look very impressive in week 1. They didn't score a touchdown in week 1. Them and the Bengals and the Giants. So if you knock off Tennessee, you're 3-0. You got good vibes going into week 4 against the Ravens. Let's say you just split, though, Titans-Ravens. Right? Let's say you go into the bye 3-1. You come out of the bye, you got the 49ers. That's going to be a tough test. Let's say you drop that one, for example. Now you're 3-2. Knock off the Colts 4-2. Maybe fall short in Seattle 4-3. This is all worst-case scenario, by the way. If you're 4-3 going into the deadline, I could definitely see Cleveland feeling like a team that feels that they are one piece away. We're 4-3, but we're making some good strides. That's kind of the worst case. Well, not really worst case, but that's kind of the pessimistic mode, right? Let's say they go 4-0 into the bye, and let's say they come out of the bye and they go 2-1 in the next 3 games. Now you are, 6-7-1 going into the NFL trade deadline. The point I'm trying to make here is, regardless of the Browns' record going into Halloween, going up to the NFL trade deadline, whether they have 1 loss in the loss column or 3 losses in the loss column, I think Cleveland is going to be an aggressive team at the trade deadline, because they're going to look at this going one of 2 ways. 1, we're kicking ass, we're taking names, let's just add more fuel to the fire. We saw the Eagles last year acquire Robert Quinn from the Bears when they already had a loaded pass rushing unit. Why? Because they wanted to stock up, right? They wanted to load up, they wanted to get very deep, and they wanted to have plenty of good depth for a long postseason run in case an injury popped up. That's option A. Option B is, let's say the Browns are 4-3 going into the bye, or 3-4. Well, Andrew Berry is all in on this season. So if he feels like this is his, last gas and he has to produce results, or he's going to lose his job, what does he care about picks that he might not be even making selections for, right? If this year does not go to plan. So I could definitely see, no matter what the Browns' record is at the trade deadline, Cleveland being a team that could talk themselves into trading for a guy like Danielle Hunter. But predictive for me, will the Browns make another trade? I absolutely do think so. I mean, unless the price just is not right and the Browns can't find a good deal with someone, Andrew Berry is picking up the phone. right? He is making calls as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline. So let me know down below in the comment section why for yes or N for no. Now, Bleacher Report did have some honorable mentions for their trade block, and Josh Jacobs was on it. This doesn't apply to Cleveland. Michael Carter is an interesting name. If Jerome Ford, doesn't show himself as a true RB2, maybe the Browns want to solidify their backfield via the trade market. Tyler Boyd, that's not going to happen. Donovan Peoples-Jones was on there. And then there's Devin White. But for 30 seconds here, let's talk about DPJ, because I would be surprised if the Browns move on from Donovan Peoples-Jones. Maybe if Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper really start to dominate and DPJ starts losing snaps, maybe a team calls Cleveland and goes, hey, this wide receiver of yours, he's only getting like 40 to 50% of the snaps on offense. You'll be getting 60 to 70% of snaps on offense with our team. We'll give you an offer you can't refuse for what DPJ is worth. And he's going to be a free agent at this year, so if you think you're going to lose him anyway, you might as well get something for it. That's really the only way I could see this going down, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think DPJ's snap count is about to fall off a cliff and start plummeting. No, DPJ is still a valuable member of this offense. He's a go-to target for Deshaun Watson. If the Browns want to be serious about going on a run, it's probably not a good idea to take away a good part of that offense, just as you are starting to put together the best, most talented offense in Cleveland Browns history. Now, before we really wrap up the show with the injury report, make sure you tune in for our Browns watch party. It'll be on Monday night this week. We go live 30 minutes before kickoff every single week. If you have never tuned into a watch party before, make this your first, because this Browns-Steelers game, it's going to be special. I talked about this on yesterday's show. I think this is the biggest regular season game, which some people did not hear me say regular season game, maybe since 99, like a long time, no doubt about it. So make sure you tune in. It's going to be a blast. Having said all that, guys, can we just huddle up for a moment here? I fucking love the Browns this week. It's going to happen. I know it's Mike Tomlin. It's the Steelers. They're 20-0 at home on Monday Night Football. I know all that. I see all that. But I really do feel it in my heart of hearts. The Browns are going to come out, and they are just going to knock around the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm getting like that playoff vibes from now 3 years ago. I feel good about the Brownies on Monday night in Pittsburgh. Some injury news to get to here. Safety Juan Thornhill and Maurice Hurst were not practicing today. Juan Thornhill missed all of week 1, of course, the calf injury. Maurice Hurst with hamstring. I think it was an Achilles was the updated one. But all in all, the Browns are relatively healthy going into Monday Night Football. If Juan Thornhill cannot go, we're going to see more of Rodney McLeod, Grant Delpit, of course, and maybe a bit extra of Ronnie Hickman. So we're going to continue to monitor the injury report for you guys leading into Monday night. The Browns this week are practicing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So we won't get that final injury report until the midst of college football on Saturday. So I'll probably do a short while I'm drunk at a bar about the injury report. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, by the way. I'm trying to grow my Browns presence over on Elon's app. So hit me up over on x.com, I guess, at Matthew Petey.